All right. Let's get started then. So in today's workshop, I will guide you through how to run Perp-curie-arbitrageur. So the content here, the content I'm going to present today is basically the same as we explained in the blog post. So if you already read the blog post and you already have some engineering background, this workshop might takes more time than you just go through repo yourself. And this is today's agenda. Wait, you guys could see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So in today's workshop, this is how everything will go through. So the first one is I will go through what Perpetual V2 is and how it works. And then the second thing is the risks and reward to use Perp-curie-arbitrageur. And the third one is I'm going to teach you how to run the bots on AWS as well as locally, but locally I'll just briefly talk about it because it's quite fast to run it on your local machine. And then the last part is about the future direction that you could explore, because this part is open source template, so anyone could improve the strategy and to do better suits yourself. So that's the agenda today. And if you have any questions during the workshop, no matter it's engineering related or other related, feel free to bring up in the chat. All right, then let's get started then. So in case you somehow haven't tried out Perp-v2, oops. Okay, my computer suddenly froze. Okay, it's working now. Sorry. So on Perp-v2, people could deposit USDC to the protocol and then trade perpetual futures with leverage. The overall trading experience is similar to Uniswap, but we have extra steps that require you to deposit USDC inside. The reason for that is that because when trading on Perp-v2, you are trading perpetual futures, which is a derivatives, and we allow you to trade with up to 10x leverage. So that's why there's an additional step that's required to deposit USDC. Let me just show you the screen. Let me show you the sites, which might make it easier to understand. So the major differences between Perp-v2 and others quote-unquote competitors is that everything happens on chain. So so it's easier to write the bot to interact with our DEX. And additionally, everything on chain means that there's a transparency that you can know how the system works. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, let me switch to Optimism. The protocol is on Optimism. God, it's just a little bit slow today. Well, anyhow, yep, as I mentioned, to trade on Perp-v2, you need to deposit it first. So you just go to add.perp.com and then deposit. Then you can just choose whichever market you want to choose on the platform. So right now we support around up to 20 markets, and you could be a liquidity provider and traders. But today we'll mainly focus on trading. Yep, the overall trading experience is similar to Uniswap. As you can see, just open a long, but the major difference is you could open a short position because it is a derivative platform. And that's pretty much the gist of Perp-v2. It is quite straightforward for traders. Yep, before I go into the next section, is there any questions so far? All right, perfect. Then I will just continue then. So, but what are the major differences? What are the major risk and reward to run Perp-curie-arbitrageur? Well, as the name suggests, Perp-curie-arbitrageur is a bot that automatically to arbitrage between the price between Perp-v2, the platform I just showed you, and FTX, which is a central exchange. So whenever there's a price differences, you could say the price differences you show yourself. And when the price differences is reached, then the bots will execute the arbitraging strategy automatically. So in other words, you open a long position when on the platform where the price is lower, and open a short position where the price is higher. And the difference is the profit you receive while running the bot. So that's the reward. For running this bot. As for the risk, the one major one is liquidation. So because the thing that you are trading here is perpetual futures, that means that there is leverage involved when trading this stuff. And usually on platform like us, there's a thing called a maintenance margin. Basically, that means that how much leverage you could use when trading our platform. And luckily, by default, we have a margin ratio limit set up for you. So when the margin ratio is hit, then the bots will start closing positions on both platforms. And so the way how margin ratio is calculated is it is use collateral, the money you deposit on our platform, then divided by the total position value. So in other words, the higher the value of margin ratio, the safer for you to trade. So in other words, if you just want to try it out or to test the system, it is recommended that you just use a higher margin ratio because the higher the better. If you are using one, then that means that you are not using leverage. And yeah, that's the basic the reward and risk for running the bots. Do we have any questions so far, or is there anything that I could rephrase to make it clear? All right, sounds good. Then I will just continue then. Then the next step, it will be more hands-on because we're going to run the bots on your machine. All right. So there are some prerequisites things that you need to install in order to run this bot. The first one is Node.js. So let me also paste this link in the chat. So in case so that you could follow the step. The first one is you need to install Node.js on your computer. If you click the link, it should show you the install process for different OS system. Yep. And once it is installed, you could type node -v to test if it is working. And if you are using Windows, you probably need to set out your environment variable. Otherwise, it will say, hey, node is not recognized as an internal or external command. The way how you do this is, so this is for Windows user only. So for Windows user, you need to you could search on your computer and find the system environment variable. And then click environment variable. Then in the system variable section, you need to find path, then edit, then add a location where you install your Node.js. So that is the place where I install my Node.js, but it depends on where you install it. You just click new and then type the location over there and then click OK. Then you should be good to go. Oh, sorry. So the place where you type the command is, so on Mac OS, you could find a software called Terminal, which is by default installed on your computer. And for Windows, you need to find command prompt or CMD in short. So you just type CMD on your computer and find command prompt. Yep, and I already have opened it. Let me find it. All right, so I already have opened it. And if you have installed Node, then you could type node-v to see the results. And one thing to know here is that there is a system requirement. But if you install Node.js this time, as the first time, then you should totally be fine. But there's a environment requirement for npm and Node.js. All right, then once we install Node, the next thing we need to install is called Git. And as before, let me pass the install link to the chat. So in the link I pass in chat, you could see different kind of installation guide for different kind of OS system. And just install it. And once it's installed, you could also type git -version to see if it is working. Oops. But it's double hyphen, sorry. Yep. And again, if you are a Windows user, you might see git is not recognized as an internal or external command, then you need to do the same thing to edit the environment variable again. Is everyone following? All right, I will continue then. So once we have Node.js and gets installed on your computer, the next thing you need to do is you could start to clone the software to your computer. And the thing, let me just pass the command in the chat. Oh, you need to remove the $sign. All right, then let's get started. So you need to Control-C, copy this one, and then in your terminal, again, if you are using Mac, then it's the software we are using right now is called Terminal, and for a Windows user, it's called command prompt or CMD in short. And just type git clone this thing and this URL. And then, well, I already cloned it on my device, but yeah, let me show. Yeah, I already cloned it on my device, but the issue. Yep, and then you need to type this command to move to the folder, and then you need to type npm install to install all of the things we need to run this bot. And the first time should take a couple of minutes. And once it is installed, then the next thing you need to do is run npm run build, which will build out the software, which we could run on our computer. Alrighty. Then we are close to. Okay. Then we are close to start running the bots. Then there are two files that you need to edit in order to run Perp-curie-arbitrageur. So the first one is .env file in your root directory. Oh yes, there is a Docker file in the directory, as you can see here. Oh wait. Okay. Oh, yep, there's one. So if you are a more advanced programmer, you could use Dockerfile. But in this tutorial, we just, it's much easier for advanced users. But we got to cover a lot of ground. So that's why we use serverless and npm this time. But you could totally use Docker if you know what you're doing. All right, then we need to edit the .env file in your root directory. So as you can see, there are 5 different kind of variables we need to put value in. So the first one is Web3 endpoint. You could get one by visiting Infura or Alchemy. Again, let me also pass it in the chat. Yeah, you just create a new project and click Ethereum and just call per-up. And once the project is created, because Perv2 is on Optimism, so you need to choose Optimism mainnet. Then you just copy the URL shown on your screen, then paste it over there. And again, because I don't want to get hit by a giant bill tomorrow, so I can delete it. But you could get your own URL. Yep, that is the parts for Web3 endpoints. And then the second part is for the things, the secrets on FTX. Yep. Yeah, it is recorded and it will be released on our YouTube channel. Yeah, just search Perpetual Protocol on YouTube, then you should be able to find our channel. And the last 4 variables we need are the ones from FTX. So let me find it. Yep, and if you are already using FTX, then the way to generate the trading key is that you could click your profile, and there should be API keys. Then you just need to create a key under your account. And as a reminder, we use a sub account, so you need to create a sub account first, then go to the sub account and create an API key. And you should be able to find all of those. Oh, sorry, the last 3 parameters on the FTX website. Yeah, basically, you will just show everything when you create a key. And remember, the permission needs to be trading because this is what the bot does. So you need to say it to trading. And then we are almost there. The last thing we need is add a private key to your software. And I believe everyone here have installed MetaMask or whichever wallet you prefer. If you are using MetaMask, then you could, to open it. Oh God, it's so slow today. And then you could click the setting button in the top right corner, and there's an option called export private key. So yeah, that's how you get your private key for your account on MetaMask. But again, since we're going to use program to trade it, so I personally recommend that you use a new account, a separate account than the one you use to trade manually. All right, that's all the variables we need we set up to run the bots. And once you type those variables in, type the value in, you need to rename it from .env.example to .env. Let me double check. Yep, remember to rename it to .env. All right, then we are almost there. So the next thing we need to do is we need to configure our strategy. So there's one file called config.json. And again, I'm using Visual Studio Code as the code editor, but you could use whichever you like. Even text editor works fine. So it's inside the configs folder, config.json file. You open it, then there are a lot of things we could adjust. I'm going to go through every one of them. So some of them are quite self-explanatory, but I'm going to explain it anyways. The first two one are the interval we can check for the balance as well as the price, because this is arbitraging bot, so you will check the price quite frequently, right? So that's why we say it by default is 5 and the balance check is 10. And then since Perp-2 is a DEX, so every trade happens on chain. That means that whenever you trade, you need to pay the gas fee. So usually each trade on Perp-2 costs around 0.2 US dollar. But it depends on the gas fee on layer one. But here you could trade the maximum, you could set the maximum gas price as well as the maximum gas fee you are willing. The maximum gas fee there must be on your balance. And as I previously mentioned, the main risk how to make a bot not trade on only trade. Statistical arbitrage. Sir, could you explain more about the statistical arbitrage? So this is first time I have heard about it. Oh, got it. That should be relatively easy. So you could just check the code. Let me check arbitrage. Nice. Let me find it. What is that? Yeah, let me find its code. Yeah, I think everything you need is inside the arbitrageur.ts file, inside the arbitrageur folder. You basically need to check what's it? Yeah, the arbitrage function. So in the arbitrage function, we divide it into many two parts. The first part is about one part is for FTS and one part is for perp. To do the thing you needed to do, you just need to find the basically it's this section. Yeah, you could just check the arbitrageur.ts file, and I think it is quite relatively easy to read, and you just ignore the FTX section and then copy the code that we use to execute the trade on Perp-2. Then it should be that should be a good start. But again, if you have any questions during modifying the bots or any idea you want to build on Perp-2, people could join our Discord, where we have a coding what's the name again? Oh, sorry, it's called coding chat channel. Yeah, let me also pass it in the chat. Code link, invite people. Oh yes, because well, there are increasingly more people to register account on Infura. So they right now, I believe, they require you to buy the credit card in order to create accounts. But the free quota should be enough for most of the time. So yeah, they want to prevent people to gain it. But there are other players in this space, so you could check. Yeah, exactly. Alchemy also does fine. So Alchemy, what's that? Lino? No, not Lino. What's that? No. Well, Alchemy also does fine. So you could use Alchemy if you don't want to type the credit card. Yeah, but and also it's the same. So you just get your what is it? Okay. Yeah, you just get the link for Optimism on Alchemy, then paste it over there, and it will just works fine. All right, then let's continue. So let's go back to the margin ratio setting here. So as I mentioned, margin ratio is the metric we use to calculate the risk. So the higher the higher the number, the safer for your position. So if you are really risk averse and you just want to try out, you just type 1 because 1 is the safest you could get. And then this thing is called emergency reduced margin ratio. Basically, what this means is that when should a bot to start reduce your position. So if you set 1 for the margin ratio, then let me check. Oh, yep. So one thing one thing I want to remind people is that on Perp, the margin ratio should exceed 0.1. So if you want to enable this function, you better say this higher because 0.10 margin ratio could means that you use test average, and on Perp v2, test average means that you are getting liquidated. So just say higher, so your position will start to reduce once it is reached. And yeah, and those things are quite self-explanatory. The emergency reduced amount, this thing is in BUSD. So how much position in US dollars should each time close? So should the bot close each time? So in this case, this is the 9,000 US dollar worth of position. And then the last part is which market should the Perp-curie-arbitrageur to arbitrage. And for instance, if you choose the BTC market, again, for the market list, you could either visit outside to see the full list. So basically, you just add a V before the market name. For instance, VBTC represent the BTC perpetual market on Perp-v2. And then, yeah, it's enabled, just that the bug is if it is enabled, then the bug will run into arbitrage these markets and then and the FTX markets. And the order amounts is in BUSD. So how much position should it open each time in US dollar? And the spread here is the price differences between FTX and Perp. And yeah, and also you could also choose the duration. So for instance, you could only want to open short on Perp-v2 and open long on FTX, or vice versa. And you could also use both. And the last thing is, should the bots reduce your position automatically? Because we have a emergency margin ratio. And some user might want to close the position manually, so that's also an option. But you want to the bot to close it automatically for you, then just say it true. Yeah, and you need to copy those things, then pass well, by default, they are already valued inside. You just adjust by yourself. All right. So a quick recap. Once you git clone and get everything done, get the software downloaded on your computer, you need to modify the .env file, and you need to get those things either from Infura or Alchemy to get the Web3 endpoint, and you need to export the private key from your wallet. And again, highly suggest you use a new wallet. And then also the FTX API keys, secret, and sub accounts. Then the last thing you need to do is config the strategy. All right, then we are good to go. Yeah, let me check if how important is latency to run these bots. I think comparing to other chains, latency isn't that much. Well, I think there are two things in terms of latency, right? The first one is how fast is your endpoint. And again, most of people just use Infura, and pay Infura should be playing info on Infura or Alchemy should be fast enough. And the second thing is the latency on blockchain, because sometimes blockchain are congested, right? For Perp-2, latency shouldn't, because Perp-2 is on Optimism. So wherever you submit transaction, it just get executed immediately. So in this sense, if you pay plan on Infra Alchemy, then it should be relatively, latency shouldn't be much issue compared to other chains, arbitraging other chains. Hope this answered your question. And then we are good to go. And for Mac OS, this is the command that you need to run. And as for, we also list the Docker file over here. So for the people who mentioned using Docker, you could also use the Docker over here. What happens if we make the price change interval super low? Well, it just costs more on your AWS. So because each time it runs, it costs computing power on your AWS or Google Cloud, right? But usually the price is really cheap. So you could stay to really, really low. The lower you set, the higher the chances you find arbitraging opportunity, right? Because usually in each second there are a lot of trade going on, right? So if you say really low, like 1 second, I'm not sure if you could set sub 1 second, but let's say you say 1 second, the likelihood for you to find an arbitraging opportunity is higher compared to the people to that says 10 seconds, right? So that shorten the interval definitely help. Yeah, but in terms of the because on Optimism, every trade, basically every transaction is confirmed immediately. So yeah, if you say 1 second, I believe that would be the best for you to find a chance to arbitrage. All right. Yeah, for Mac OS user, you run this command, and for Windows user, you just run npm run start. Does one need flow on both activities? So because this strategy, there are two legs, right? One leg is on Perp and one leg is on FTX. So you need to have collateral on both platforms, and each trade costs transaction fee on both platforms. So that's why it is crucial for you to set the spread. Where's the spread? Yep, here we go. So the spread here is crucial for you because depending on how much volume you generated on FTX, different kind of people have different kind of trading fees. So that's why you should set the spread accordingly. So on Perp-2, each trade we charge 0.1% transaction fee. and then you could add the transaction fee you get charged on FTX, then and make sure the spread is set higher than that amount, then you should be good to go. No problem, sir. All right. I think till this point, everyone should be able to run it on your computer. But I think one thing I missed to mention is that you need to top up your account on FTX and your wallet in order to run the bot. Otherwise, you probably see the error message. I believe it's called insufficient balance. And yeah, let me also guide you guys how to bridge to Optimism, because not everyone has done it yet, I believe. What is that? All right. So there are two services that could use to bridge to Optimism, because Perpetual is on Optimism, right? So let's bridge some ETH and USDC to there. So if you are a centralized user, you could use layer swap, which just make it easier to bridge to Optimism. So you could just choose Optimism, then bridge ETH and USDC. So this is the fastest route for you to bridge to Optimism. But of course, it's convenience also costs money, right? So they charge fees, and also the amount cannot be really large. So for those who want to do an experiment or just want to try out, you can use their swap to bridge from your centralized account to Optimism. This is the fastest route way to do it. And if you already have fund from, let's say, Ethereum or AVAX, you could use Transfer2, which is a bridge aggregator. So they aggregate a lot of bridges on the market. Then you can find the best way to bridge to Optimism. Yeah, for instance, I want to bridge from, let's say, AVAX or the Polygon, and then Optimism, USDC. Let's say I want to bridge 100K, then just connect your wallet, then it will just show you the cheapest routes. Oh, final. Yep, let me switch to Polygon. Oh, come on. Oh, and just a final reminder for this thing. You need to have ETH and USDC to run the bot. ETH is used to pay gas fee, and USDC is for collateral. Yep. So as you can see, it's the price is quite good. You bridge 100K from Polygon, then it only costs you $1.2 to bridge to Optimism. And as you can see, they aggregate all of the bridges on the market, so you can find best rate. All right, that's the parts for getting the amount, the ETH USDC to Optimism. Then the next step, we will try to run it on AWS. Yeah, let me find it. So in order to run Perp-curie-arbitrageur on AWS, you need to install AWS command. What's that? Oops. You need to install AWS command line interface first, because this is a way for AWS. Yeah, this one. Quick start. Let me paste in the chat. Oops. Everyone in meeting. Here we go. So this software is used to connect between your computer and the AWS account. And yeah, once you set it up, yeah, let me find it. Yep, once you install this software, again, in the link I passed in the chat, it provide the installation guide for each OS system. Once it's installed, just type AWS configure, and then it will ask you some question about the information for your accounts. And to get those information, you need to log in your AWS account, then click the top right corner, then click security credentials. Again, here we just use AWS as example. You feel free to use other cloud provider, but I believe there are some changes they need to make, but we just use AWS because they are the largest one and most well-known one. All right, when you landed on the security credential, there's one section called access keys over here. Again, I don't want to get hit by a big bill tomorrow. So once you landed on this site, you click here, click there, and then see the access key, access secrets, etc., etc. And now just copy and paste them. And this one thing called region name, and again, it depends on where to live. We are based, well, at least I'm based in Asia. So I usually just choose Singapore as the location. Yeah, so yeah, it really depends on where you reside. And then once we finish this step, then the next thing we need to do is we need to add, what is that? Oh, great. Wait 1 second. That's odd. Okay. I'm not sure if we have missed it, but we also have another box called Perp maker. Right, sorry, looks like everything's fine. Sorry. Okay, then we are good to go. Then once you connect your AWS account with your computer, then you could just run npm run build, and then once it's built successfully on your computer, then you could run npm run SLS deploy. Then it should be deployed to your AWS account. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, the successful code should look something like this. So it will say, hey, the service deployed to stack prerequisites, and the function is called this one. And the reason why I don't demo this live is that it usually take around, depends on your computer speed. Sometimes it takes around like 5 to 6 minutes. So it takes a lot of time when you deploy it the first time. But once it is deployed, you could go to your AWS account, then go to and search Lambda. Over here. Once it's deployed successful, you should be able to see the bot is live on your Lambda function. As we show you over here, it will be inside Lambda, and there's a function called prerequisites production name. And then you could see the logs by click monitor logs and view logs on CloudWatch. So you could see how it is performing. All right, that's pretty much it. Let me check. Oh, so as I mentioned before, this thing is more like a template. We built it so people could to learn from it and then pull their creative insight to modify it. So there are some future modification that you could do. So the first one is support more DEX and centralized changes, because right now it only supports Perp-v2 and FTX, and sometimes you might use Binance or Huobi or whatever more. And also, if you support more DEXes, you could find more arbitrage opportunity between two of them. And the second one is called a beta position wind down, because right now, let me check. Oh, yeah, because right now, when the margin ratio is reached to the level you set, the bots will just start to rewind the position, right? They'll start to close two sides of position. But right now, the bot does not consider the price that it closed. So that's why some users prefer to close the position manually. So that's another direction I could explore. And the last one is that right now there's no success or error reports. So, so sometimes you need to calculate the how much profit you made manually, which is not ideal. But hey, at least right now the bot works, so you could add this one when you check the code. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And as I mentioned before, we have a coding chat channel on our Discord. So if you run into any questions, feel free to hop on Discord and search for the question first. And if no one has brought it up yet, then feel free to bring it up in the coding chat channel. All right. Do we have any questions? Yeah, let me also pass pass the link to the article in the chat. Right. Looks like we don't have any further questions. Then again, thanks for everyone for showing up and spending your time to join the workshop. And we have a OATH token, online achievement token for everyone. So please pass your address in the chat so we could issue them once 5 minutes after once the workshop is over. Yeah, let's give people 5 minutes. We will close the workshop at depends on where you live. Like say, we'll close it 5 minutes later. So in the meantime, pass your address, is your address in the chat, so we could issue the OATH token to you. Thanks everyone for showing up. Thank you, sirs. Yeah, if you have passed the chat, pass your address in the chat, you feel free to enjoy your Friday night or day, depending on where you live. No, thank you, sir. Oh, for those who are still here, we just had a workshop for Perp Maker, which is another Bao developer. We will upload the workshop video also on our YouTube channel, so you could feel free to check it out. Yeah, because it really depends on, because Perp-arbitrageur is a zero-sum game. So sometimes if someone figure out a strategy that is really good, really efficient, then your profits should decline as a result. but for per maker, it's just not a zero-sum game. So I also recommend people could check it out. No problem, sir. Thanks for attending the workshop. Right, we have 2 minutes to go. So people, please hurry up and get your Ethereum address and pass it in the chat. Proper gas fee. That is a good question. So usually when trade Optimism, let me just show you. Come on. Yep, let me find it. So usually when trade happens on Optimism, gas consists of 2 parts. The first part is the fees for layer 1, and another fee is the fees for layer 2. So usually, personally, when I doing arbitraging, I will factor in those two numbers. So as you can see, there's a layer 2 gas price, which is fixed at 0.01 Gui. And what I do for estimating the gas price for trading on Perp-2 is I just multiply the gas price on Optimism, which is fixed right now, and multiply by the gas used by transaction, which is around well, I forgot the number on our protocol, but we have a JSON file which shows every address on our system. So you could find clearinghouse. So there's address called clearinghouse, and you could search the transaction that people has made with it to find the gas amount per by you could calculate the by average gas use amount per trade. Then those two multiplied together is the gas fee you need to pay on Optimism for layer 2. And then the second thing you need to do is you need to calculate the layer 1 gas fee. So what you do is you could use block native. So there's a service called blocknative.com. You could get the gas price over there, and then you could multiply the gas used on layer 1. So around it really depends on the situation, but you could get an average number. So those two multiply together, and you could get estimated gas price, gas fees. So that's the accurate if you want to do it accurately to guess to estimate the gas price. But generally speaking, to trade on per B2, it costs around 0.2 to 0.2-ish US dollar per trade. And when the gas is really high, like 100-ish gray on layer one, it could balloon to $2. So if you really want to do it seriously, I would suggest you to do it like I just mentioned. All right, that's the end of this workshop, and appreciate everyone for attending. And hope to see you guys in a next shop if we have a new one. Thank you, sirs. Have a good night and see you.